Fuck. Let's put something scary on.
Then there was...
Anyone mic'd up?
Also the stigmata. Audrey spontaneously bleeding from her palms. From the same spot as Jesus' hands when he was nailed to the cross. This was reportedly witnessed not just by Linda, but by at least one of Audrey's nurses. Also during several masses in which Audrey was present, what seemed to be human blood appeared on some consecrated communion wafers. A substance that appeared to be blood also appeared in a chalice at the Santo home. And a statue of Mary at the Santo home appeared to sometimes cry blood. Maybe most incredibly, despite all predictions to the contrary, Audrey, still not able to move or communicate with the outside world, continued not just to live, but to grow. Visitors to the house at 64S Flag Street in Worcester, Massachusetts, would see a girl with dark, shiny, and fragrant hair gathered with and crowned by a red satin bow. Cascade's name is Robert Randall Mackey. Music in 78 after a series. She became pregnant out of wedlock.
Let's rewind this.
She and Robert in the parking lot. They refused. Why? What could they have done? She did go there, but at least from the animal slaughter. Anything in
this the coalition of dental professionals who donate their
Okay, not much setup for this first tale.
Okay.
We'll be getting in pretty quick.
Okay, get in.
Have you ever been to a place that felt so evil, so full of dark, dangerous energy that you knew right away you should leave? A place reportedly full of not just spirits, but also demonic entities. A place where spirits refuse to coexist peacefully with humans and actively seek to harm anyone who enters their space. Bob Mackey's Music World, in the little town of Wilder, Kentucky, just 7 miles south of downtown Cincinnati, claims to be exactly such a place. It's reported by many to be the most haunted nightclub in America. And if you believe all the legends, a dark and bloody history has led directly to its current reputation. Time now for the tale of the spirits of Bob Mackey's Music World.
Hope I'm doing this right.
The site of Bob Mackey's was a large slaughterhouse, meatpacking facility, constructed to serve northwest Kentucky and Cincinnati, Ohio. Workers dug a pit of sorts in the basement, called a well in numerous sources, but not a well in the traditional sense. No one was taking any water from it. They were feeding it with all the blood and waste from the animals slaughtered there. There are rumors the slaughterhouse owner would dispose of just about anything in this pit, or anyone if he paid enough. How many humans' remains may have been dumped into this pit are a mystery. The slaughterhouse closed down in the 1890s, and shortly following this closure, more rumors soon began to circulate that now satanic cults were using the empty building for their rituals, and that they used the old pit, described again as a well, to dispose of animal sacrifices.
Is this the full
and possibly human sacrifices
for
as well.
the smaller
Supposedly
one?
went on for years.
Full one
Next,
has
the lore
a
of the building's
campfire
history
here, doesn't
were
it?
tales of murder.
I think it's a smaller
At
one.
Bobby Mackey's and the immediate area around it, there have reportedly been numerous extremely
I'm gonna get
gruesome
killed
murders
in
over
this
the years.
stretch.
Perhaps the most disturbing is the murder of 22-year-old Pearl Bryan. Pearl was a young woman from Greencastle, Indiana, a few short hours' drive away from Bobby Mackey's. In 1896, her headless corpse was discovered in a field just 2 miles from the former slaughterhouse. Some think she'd been killed at Bobby Mackey's or some think she'd been at Bobby Mackey's right before she was killed, that maybe even was killed there, and that her body was then dumped a few miles away. An examination of her body revealed that she was 5 months pregnant when she died.
Oh, shoot.
Scott Jackson, Pearl's boyfriend at the time, and a student at the Ohio College of Dental Surgery, had convinced her to come to Cincinnati so he could arrange an abortion. Pearl left home on February 1st, 1896, telling her parents she was going to Indianapolis, and she did go there, but that she kept going all the way to Cincinnati and just beyond it. According to the legend, instead of taking Pearl to a doctor or a surgeon, Jackson and his roommate Alonzo Walling attempted to perform the abortion themselves.
Oh my God.
They first tried inducing a miscarriage with chemicals and cocaine. When that failed, they used dental tools.
Why is no one doing
My
fucking
God.
gold?
They went to the old abandoned slaughterhouse to do it where no one would see them, where no one would hear Pearl scream if something went wrong. And the surgery did go wrong. Pearl died. In an attempt to cover their tracks, they placed her body in an empty field and removed her head so she couldn't be identified. They almost got away with all of this, but they left Pearl's shoes on her feet, and the police found the manufacturer of those shoes, Lewis and Hayes, who confirmed the pair were sold to Pearl Bryant.
Think I put that on right?
1990s detective work led to multiple murder charges. And the trial for Pearl's murder became quite the local spectacle. It was all anyone in the area seemed to talk about. Tickets were sold to the hearing. Over 5,000 people stood outside the courthouse, waiting for the news the day of the jury's verdict. During the trial, Alonzo Walling testified that it was Jackson's idea to cut Pearl up in order to make her remains harder to identify. He and his roommate, Scott Jackson, were both found guilty of murder, and both sentenced to death. Strangely, Jackson and Walling were supposedly both offered life in prison to be spared the death penalty if they'd only reveal the location of Pearl's head. But they refused. Why? What could they have been possibly hiding that would turn them or lead them to turn down a deal to save their lives? Both men were executed on March 21st, 1897, in front of thousands of witnesses. And while standing on the gallows, Alonzo Walling, furious he had also been given the death penalty for being dragged into his roommate's abortion scheme, vowed to haunt the area forever. Pearl's head was never found. More rumors now swirled. These new rumors asserted that Jackson was involved in a satanic cult that would meet and make sacrifices in the old slaughterhouse, and that Pearl's head
Oh my God, who's the other guy?
inside the slaughterhouse. Two men couldn't admit any of this because they would supposedly suffer Satan's wrath if they revealed the location of her head. Bloodhounds used to find Pearl's head led investigators to the abandoned building, now known as Bobby Mackey's Music World, but then police couldn't find her head once they got there. Was it thrown down into that old slaughterhouse pit? The remains of the former slaughterhouse completely demolished in the early 20th century, and then the lot sat empty until the 1920s, when a new building was erected that served as a casino, nightclub, and speakeasy during Prohibition. A decade later, in the 1930s, a man named E.A. Buck Brady purchased the building and named the nightclub and gambling hall Primrose. He operated the club successfully for around a decade, and then that success caught the attention of the Cincinnati mob, who tried to buy him out, but he refused to sell. Mobsters then started threatening Buck
Thank God it actually fit.
in the parking lot. And that harassment led to Buck drawing his gun on a mobster named Albert Red Masterson. That incident caught the attention of local law enforcement, and then Buck was charged with attempted murder.
It actually worked.
Then there are two different accounts of what happened next. Buck either walked away from the business in 1946 or took his own life inside the club. Either way, the building sat vacant again for a few years before reopening as a nightclub named Latin Quarter in the 1950s. This new chapter would add more tragedy to the historical world.
What?
Joanna was a dance hall girl and the daughter of the owner.
Nice.
When she worked at the Latin Quarter, she was young and beautiful. She fell in love with Robert Randall Mackey, a singer and regular performer at the club. And like Pearl many years before her, she became pregnant out of wedlock. She and Robert intended to run away together, but Joanna's father forbade her to leave, and then used some criminal connections to have Robert killed. They tried to make it look like a suicide and left his body hanging in the dressing room. When Joanna learned what had happened, she poisoned her father, then killed herself in the building's basement. Once more, the location was abandoned. A few years later, the club now reopened again as a bar called the Hard Rock Cafe, not associated with the famous restaurant chain. Nearly every night was full of violence and crime, drunken fights, shootings, drugs, illegal sex work. There were rumors that the mob owned the club. What is currently the men's restroom was supposedly the mob's main office, where there was allegedly a trap door that led straight down to the old slaughterhouse well. January of 1978, after a series of shootings and other crimes at the club, local authorities shut it down. Later that year, a young country singer named Bobby Mackey purchased the building and reopened it yet again. He turned it into Bobby Mackey's Music World, a now famous country and honky-tonk music hall and tavern. Bobby claims he's a skeptic, and he hasn't seen anything himself, but as you'll soon find out, that might not be true. It might just be what Bobby tells himself. Even though he doesn't necessarily trust what he has seen, he believes much of the lore about what's happened in, around, and under the building he's now long owned. And he also believes most of the paranormal encounter stories shared to him by various members of his family, employees, local police officers, and assorted bar patrons. Interestingly, Bobby Mackey's real name is Robert Randall Mackey, the exact same name as Joanna's supposed former lover. The man left hanging in the dressing room. Bobby's mother originally named him Randy, but a day after his birth, she decided to change his name to Robert Randall. Another interesting coincidence, the railroad track behind the building runs all the way to Bob Mackey's childhood home, as if fate is somehow linking him to the bar, as if the bar chose him to reopen it. Bobby came across the abandoned building that is now his business while out driving one day. He didn't tell his wife Janet about it until he'd already spoken with the real estate agent. As author Douglas Hensley wrote in his book, Hell's Gate: Terror at Bobby Mackey's Music World, he had inspected the abandoned casino prior to bringing Janet to see it. And when he did, he found himself experiencing some sort of deja vu. He had never stepped foot inside that place until that moment, but he seemed to know the layout of each room before entering it. He could not quite put his finger on it, but the structure seemed like home, some long-forgotten memory of the past. Did the murdered singer reincarnate somehow? The old Robert Randall Mackey, coming back as the new Robert Randall Mackey? Janet could tell her husband desperately wanted to buy the building, even if it didn't seem like a wise investment to her. Janet, not nearly a biggest fan as a place, as her husband. Once she stepped inside the place for the first time, after she and her husband had bought it, she claimed to feel an evil emanating from the building. She claims that during their first visit, she saw something moving to the top of a set of concrete steps that led to the first door. And then later during the same visit, watched a metal door open all by itself. As Douglas Hensley wrote, once inside the darkened nightclub, Janet felt a slow, uneasy trepidation creep over her. A fear that she could not explain, but nevertheless, a very real and disturbing fear. Janet was also, during the initial visit, distracted by thinking that she'd seen some shadowy figure in a large mirror. And then she heard Bobby call out, "Hey, lady, wait a minute. Hey, lady, wait." But then when Janet questioned her husband about this, he insisted he hadn't said that. It was just her imagination. Bobby also blames his own paranormal encounter that day on his imagination. He said, "I was up there on the stage, imagining the room filled with people dancing and singing, and then I thought I saw a woman in a white gown with a long, light brown hair walking across the room near the front of the bar. She disappeared in the dark by the door we came in, but it was not me. I just let my imagination run away with me, that's all." As the two were about to leave after their first visit there together, as they passed the ballroom, Bobby jumped up onto the stage and began singing.
God damn.
And according again to Douglas Hensley, a cold surge of fear shot through Janet, like ice water rushing through her veins, as she stood there on the hardwood dance floor, staring up at her husband, who seemed to be in some sort of trance. As Bobby continued singing the song, his voice sounded a little more distant, and the unexplainable fear Janet was feeling became even more prevalent, crowding the room with a varied sense of evil. Her skin felt instantly clammy, and a nauseating hot sensation flooded her body, giving her the feeling that something inside these walls would surely choke the life from her if she didn't get out. The air inside the room was still and close and smelled too much like a crypt, a tomb, waiting to swallow her very soul at any hint of animosity. She slowly scanned the area with her eyes and felt something now watching her from somewhere in the shadowy recesses of the room.
Ooh, that's good.
She felt as if 1,000 tiny, dark, evil eyes were staring at her from somewhere in the darkened shadows of the room. Janet now insisted they leave right away. As they left the ballroom, a light flickered. Bobby said it was a bad switch, but Janet doesn't believe that for a second. She gave one last look at the building and was captivated by the brilliant setting sun illuminating the bar. The glow blazed like a million burning embers, igniting the air and changing it to 1,000 particles of luminous yellow dust. Then as she looked deep into the overwhelming fiery tones that were lengthening in front of her, she felt another sudden jolt of fright when she saw a pair of red, unearthly eyes staring back at her. The next day, Janet and Bobby met Carl Lawson, future caretaker of Bobby Mackey's. Former and future caretaker. Carl had formerly worked at the old club and wanted to meet the Mackeys. He told them that he had worked for the two previous owners, knew where everything was, and was looking for more work. The Mackeys were in need of someone to clean up the place, to prepare for renovations, so Carl started that day. Bobby left Janet and Carl alone to go upstairs to work, and Carl, having just heard how terrible Janet's first visit to the club was, suddenly turned to her and said, "Don't worry about the ghosts in here. They're my friends." That did not make Janet feel better. She tried to convince herself that Bobby was right, that she
I
just
think
let her
we're in
imagination get the
the
best of
fucking
her.
big version.
She and Carl then both suddenly heard a
Yeah,
thump
we
inside
are.
the casino room, stretching out through the rest of the first floor like a fading shot bouncing off a canyon wall. When they went to investigate, they found that a giant picture of a flamingo had been knocked to the floor. Carl picked it up, then looked to the ceiling and whispered, "I'm back, and I'm here to stay this time. I won't leave again, I promise." Janet got the chills. Luckily, she was left alone for the rest of that visit. But then just a few days later, she was attacked by something else in the building for the first time. She arrived in the morning to get some work done. She was pregnant, couldn't do any heavy lifting, so she decided to sweep the ballroom. Soon she became tired, stopped for a break. She decided to go talk to Carl about the ghosts. Eager to learn as much as she could about that strange place, she first looked for Carl in the casino room, couldn't find him, walked back to the ballroom, and as she walked towards the doorway, something made her stop dead in her tracks. Her arms hung rigid as her eyes swept the darkened shadows of the casino room. As she stood there motionless, a cold, soul-piercing chill passed through her body, causing her to shudder uncontrollably as the hairs on the back of her neck bristled. She was hearing whispering from all around her. Janet tried to call out for Carl and Bobby, but the words wouldn't come. Then she heard a man distinctly whisper, "Get out," in a voice like sandpaper. Meanwhile, Carl smelled roses around him while he worked in another room. He'd been at the bar long enough to know what that meant. The ghost of Joanna was near. The young, beautiful woman who'd killed herself in the basement after her lover and the father of her baby had been killed. She was known in life to wear perfume that smelled like roses, and Carl had smelled that scent many times before encountering her ghost. Carl asked Joanna and any other entities around him not to hurt him, Bobby, or Janet.
Talking that
Then he ran towards
shit.
the ballroom, walked in on Janet, frozen in fear as a ladder fell towards her. He grabbed her in time to yank her out of its way. Janet sat down
Think
and
I put
demanded that
that
Carl
on
tell
right?
her
Alright,
the history
that
of the
bit's
bar.
done.
And Carl said, "I've never told anyone what I'm
on
going to tell you, but after what happened today, I think maybe you ought to know." He said, "A few years ago, I was here alone cleaning the club.
Big
It
house
was
with a
raining hard, and
farmhouse.
all the doors were locked, so I didn't expect any visitors.
Ooh.
Anyway, I'm busy doing my job, and all of a sudden,
Like,
I
I'm
look up and
down.
there's this lady standing there. Scared the you-know-what out of me. After I got my breath back, I asked her what she was doing. She just kind of giggled like a little schoolgirl and said she was waiting for Robert Randall to come back for her. The young woman then told Carl that he was her fiancé, and that her father didn't like him.
Feel us to know how to do all this.
Holy shit!
She said she couldn't live
It
without
started.
him and ended her life in the bar. Carl figured she was just some crazy woman who escaped from the nut house, and he told her to get out. But she said she would never leave until Robert came back. And then she said that when Robert did come back, all hell would break loose. Carl walked over to the phone and called the police. But then when he turned around to look at her as he dialed, she was gone. He ran around checking the building for her, found out that all the doors were indeed locked. He realized he was talking to a ghost. Over the years, talking to lots of people and doing his own research, he said he learned her name was Joanna. And he told Janet that following that visit, she appeared to him several more times. Once when Carl was drunk, he heard her say, "Beware of the evil that hides inside." Then he heard her say, as if she was talking to someone else, "Don't harm this man. He's the keeper of the beasts and the children." Beasts and children, what could that possibly mean? Carl now told Janet that Joanna was a good spirit, but that something else that was evil also lived inside the bar. And he promised he'd figure out what it was sooner or
What's
later and
this
help get
dude
rid of it.
doing?
When Janet and Carl stood up following this conversation to go find Bobby, they now heard a
Oh,
frantic
good.
scratching sound with a terrible suddenness coming from the door beneath their feet. Carl said he'd heard this exact noise many times before and felt like it was something trying to lure him down into the basement. Said he'd never gone down there to see what it was. He told Janet he was also scared to go in some of the other rooms at night. Janet, now freaked out,
Why
never
me?
told Bobby when she found him a minute later everything that had just happened. She told him that they shouldn't reopen the club.
Did anyone
they should
else
sell
get
the
away?
building, And, they got into a huge shouting match. Bobby refused to sell. He was determined to make his dream of owning a country music venue come true. And he felt like this was his destiny. Janet ended up agreeing to let Bobby do what he was determined to do, and they finished renovating the place and had a grand opening. Bobby ended up adding a new stage, dance floor, mechanical bull, bar, pool tables, spruced up the building's big various rooms to create a fun place, at least for those who the spirits chose not to harass, to dance and drink the night away. The paranormal sightings and experiences then continued to haunt Janet, Carl, many of the bar's
Holy
patrons,
shit
and many
in
of the
here.
employees for years afterwards, right up until the present.
Nothing's
Nearly
fixed
everyone
on
who has ever worked at the bar believes it's
fucking
haunted, except for
other
Bobby
car.
Mack. At least he won't admit it. Carl Lawson, as the caretaker, would live in a small upstairs apartment above the bar alone for years after it opened. And he claims that every morning at 6 a.m., he was woken by the sound of an army marching through the bar. Says he was too afraid to go downstairs, never inspect the noise. Said he locked himself in his room, slept with a loaded shotgun near his bed. Carl claims that while living there, he ended up becoming a victim of some kind of demonic possession as well. That a minister had to perform an exorcism in the kitchen and heal him in August of 1991. During the exorcism, Carl was told he laughed maniacally, that at one point he even put his hands around the pastor's neck and tried to choke her. He would later claim no memory of any of this. At one point during the exorcism, the preacher said, "It's time for you to leave Carl alone," and Carl screamed, "I won't go. I'm not leaving. If I leave, we all have to leave." Carl then fell out of the chair and said, "I don't have to go nowhere. This body is mine. This body is mine." Bobby Mackey, who actually witnessed this, states that no part of him believes that Carl was just putting on a show. He says Carl showed a completely different personality during the entire ordeal. And yet somehow Bobby still continues to believe in the spirits inhabited the bar. While this exorcism seemed to work, the paranormal terror was not over. Not long after the exorcism, one of the kitchen walls caught on fire. The fire department never could determine the cause. Not long after that, Rich Lawson, a regular patron, said he felt a suffocating presence in the men's restroom one night. A metal trash can flew across the room at him. More disturbingly, after the trash can flew through the air, he saw a man with a mustache standing.
Oh fuck! What the fuck?
Before he disappeared, he asked the man what his problem was, and the bathroom became intensely hot, and the man repeated over and over, "Die gay, die gay, die gay." On another occasion, Janet claimed she was overcome by the scent of roses in the basement. She says she was a target almost every time she set foot inside the bar. The last time she ever visited the bar, Janet was in the upstairs apartment. Carl had now moved out. He couldn't handle it all anymore after his exorcism.
Oh, fuck.
She felt an invisible force grab her around the waist. She claims it picked her up, floated her through the air, and almost threw her down a steep flight of stairs. When it tossed her down, she heard a male figure scream at her, "Get out, get out, get out!" And she did what was commanded. She's never been back inside the club since that incident. Sightings and encounters.
I don't mind losing you for a little while.
Old photos of Pearl Bryan match witness descriptions of a headless ghost in odd clothing seen by a few staff members.
Oh, we got the cows cold now.
Also match descriptions of spirits seen at the bar. The paranormal hotspot seemed to be the spotlight room, the catwalk above the stage, the basement well, the old china room, a platform area near the kitchen, and an odd staircase. A set of stairs to the basement well have been deemed the stairs that lead to nowhere, because they truly do lead to a blank wall. Some who've been brave enough to venture down these stairs have reported hearing phantoms' footsteps behind them. The basement itself, sometimes called the Room of Faces. Several different people who have ventured down there have reported seeing evil faces appear on the floor and walls. Club manager Laura Rowland claims that on a few different occasions, when going through the building and closing down for the night, she's found the lights on, doors unlocked, and the jukebox playing the Anniversary Waltz, which is terrifying because the jukebox is unplugged when this happens, and the Anniversary Waltz is not a song in the jukebox catalog. Laura has also reported feeling the building shake while she closed up one night. Fearing an earthquake, she ran outside. Everything stopped and the building was perfectly still. If there was an earthquake, it was never reported. Another employee once said they saw a dark, angry man behind the bar and the spirit of Joanna. All of these claims drew the interest of Zach Baggins and the Ghost Adventures crew. They picked Bobby Mackey's World, as I said, for the series premiere back on October 17, 2008. They would interview Bob Mackey and Carl Lawson about their experiences. When the team asked Carl if the evil spirits were still inside the bar, he said, "I feel them now." Carl then took them into his old apartment, where he claimed to feel a burst of cold air on the stairs as he pulled open a refrigerator door. He said he felt the spirits watching him while he was inside the bar. The current caretaker at this time, Matt Coates, reported being one of the people to have seen faces in the basement. Said he also saw a glowing green
You like that, asshole?
Ah, motherfucker's in rage already.
During the filming of that first episode, Ghost Adventures team member Nick Groff went to use the men's room and heard something bang on the wall twice. Fellow team member Aaron Goodman also heard the noise.
Fuck you!
Fuck you! You want some more? You want more? Fucking! You like that, asshole?
He said he felt a tingling sensation on his back, which quickly turned into a burning sensation. He then lifted up his shirt and revealed 3 long, thin scratches. When he confronted the spirits in the room for attacking him, he said he scratched again. As Zach left the basement, cameras captured a small orb of light flying away from the house. Cameras also picked up a moving shadow in the basement that appeared to be the shape of a man. After filming the episode, a few crew members reported dark energy following them home to their personal lives. Nick reported hearing pots and pans banging around in his house. And he said a girl he was dating had her rosary ripped off her neck and dragged across the floor by an invisible force. Aaron and his wife actually separated after their investigation. They both started sharing the same nightmare about Bobby Mackey's. He believes that the investigation led to the end of his marriage.
Help me!
Despite all of this, the Ghost Adventures team later returned to the bar while filming episode 29 during season 4 in October of 2010. Once again, they claimed to encounter a lot of paranormal activity. A special guest there, Bishop James Long, felt a sharp needle drag across his hand and discovered 3 scratches. An invisible force also knocked an EVP device out of his hand. When Bishop James put blessed oil on Zach's forehead, his skin burned. When he put a special medallion on caretaker Matt Coates' neck, his skin burned as well. While filming this episode, the team used a spirit box to try and communicate with entities in the building. And they seemed to have made contact. They heard, "I can't go back in there." When asked why the spirit couldn't come up from the basement to the bar. Spirits also seemed to target Bishop James. The spirit box picked up, "It's going down with the bishop. Bad day." When asked who's going to have a bad day, they heard, "The bishop." While Bishop James performed a blessing on the building, Aaron Goodwin said later that he started to feel angry. When Bishop James threw holy water, Aaron imagined himself beating the bishop up. And then he told Bishop James that he wanted to kill him. He was later extremely disturbed by these feelings. He'd never been so affected by a paranormal investigation before. Despite all this activity, the bar remains open to this day, and Bobby Mackey still runs it. Matt Coates, still the caretaker, at least was a few years ago. He thinks something there doesn't want him to leave. He said he's tried to quit multiple times, but always keeps coming back. Several different clergy members and psychics have tried to cleanse the bar, drive out the dark energy, but nothing has ever worked. So why is Bobby Mackey such a hotspot of dark energy? Plenty of other locations have been home to more murder and suicide and tragedy than this club. Locations that don't share the same amount of paranormal activity. According to some people, the bar's basement houses some kind of portal to hell itself, or at least a gate into another realm. The Ghost Adventures team proposed a theory that Bobby Mackey himself unknowingly fuels the demonic energy in the building with his presence. He was attracted to the bar by some unseen force and now continually brings in new people for the spirits to interact with. And he does seem to have many strange connections to the bar. Bobby doesn't buy this theory, though. He says it's all just strange coincidences. Although supposedly not a believer, Bobby has capitalized on the spirits. The bar's slogan is "Come for the ghosts and stay for the music." If you want to meet Bobby, he and his Big Mac band play at the bar at 10 p.m. a lot of Friday and Saturday nights. You can check their website for the schedule, or if you're feeling more adventurous, you can book a private tour and search for the spirits yourself. Just be careful. The spirits there seem to love nothing more than terrorizing anyone who dares to wander downstairs. And if the Ghost Adventures team members are to be believed, you might just bring something back home with you.
No way. We can't go because our marriage will end. Yikes. Well,
And don't want to risk that.
absolutely not.
True.
What the heck? That's a lot of stuff going
I know
on
there's
there.
a lot of lore there. Do you want to see some pictures?
I do.
This first one is a picture of the back of Bobby Mackey's music road and the train tracks that connect it to where Bobby grew up. So it does have a very honky-tonk, rural kind of feel. This was like just an old building. Really nice on the outside.
That looks like
Yeah.
it came out
Fuck
of
you,
a quiet
Jason.
place.
Oh, it does.
Oh,
This
no.
next one, haunted disclaimer sign inside the bar. They were actually once sued for $1,000 by a patron who claimed their ghost assaulted them.
Oh, was that the wrong picture? There it is. Warning to our patrons.
Oh, sorry, Joe. I skipped one. That previous one was a picture. We can go back one. Picture of Bobby Mackey's from the front.
This guy.
I skipped number 2 picture there. There we go.
I mean, it's
Oh shit.
not even exciting looking.
This is a old country honky tonk bar. And then this next one, that side. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Warning to our patrons. This establishment is purported to be haunted. Management is not borderline responsible cannot be held liable for any actions of any ghost spirits on this premises. Liable, not liable. Those are two different things. I hate that we have liable and libel.
I guess, yeah, close. This next one is a picture of an alleged spirit taken on the stairs to the basement.
Okay, I mean, that is fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so for those of you listening and not watching, you can find these photos on Scared to Death Instagram
Or Facebook.
Or Facebook. But what we're looking at right now is the outline of a human outline that is very, very white and translucent, and it's coming down a set of stairs. That is, whoa.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I kind of zoned out for a second because I was staring at the photo. Zach Baggins got this or somebody else?
Oh, you know what?
Or does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I can't
sorry.
remember now, but I think it was the Ghost of H2.
Okay, I thought you said.
Yeah, I think so. This next one is what remains of that old slaughterhouse well/pit in the basement. So that little hole back there.
That is weird.
Right. Where supposedly, they would throw all the remains of the animals that they weren't, selling.
I imagine that it used to be bigger.
Yeah, probably.
Eek. Okay.
And then this last one, just a old picture of Pearl Bryant, the woman who died from that botched abortion, and whose head was
that
never
is
found.
the saddest.
Yeah.
Oh man, all the weird things going on in the world right now, it made me so upset. No mas. Yikes.
Yeah.
Okay, would you let me buy a haunted bar?
I guess it depends on what your plan was.
I mean, let me. Would we buy a haunted bar?
Right. No, I don't know. There's, I guess maybe, there's that one, like, Madame Delphine's house in New Orleans that we had, lots of money. It is a cool old house. I might want something like that, but I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, money's not an object. Let's play that game.
Yeah.
Money's not an object. So, you buy that, but then, I don't ever want to work there. I don't want to go in there. It would just be cool to be like, oh yeah, no, I own a haunted place, but I don't want anything to physically do with it.
I want to explore it. I want to stay there, but know that I didn't have to live there. Like, I could go some other place if I get too freaked out.
Do you buy Nick Cage's old house?
That's the one.
That's the one, right?
Yep.
Oh, man, well, I don't know. If Nick Cage can't handle it, we probably can't handle it. You know what I mean? Because he's a little...
He's eccentric.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I love him. He's an interesting... It seems like an interesting guy. Well, gosh,
he's a character.
Seems like a fascinating guy.
Yeah, he is a character, is what you're supposed to say.
There we go. He's a character.
Okay, couple things. Was it common to buy tickets to a jury?
Go on, spawn that last motherfucker in, dude. Shit.
Heard that.
I don't think so.
Okay.
The law would vary from place to place. I don't know if they made extra seating and turned it into a show. They would do things around the turn of the 20th century, or the beginning of it, where they would it was common to go to crime scenes and people would have snack vendors and stuff.
At a crime scene?
Yeah, where something bad happened. Sometimes they would loot the crime scenes. It was weird in some towns around America, and they would take pictures of it, postcards of bodies and stuff. It was really, really dark. I learned that in some true crime things we explored on Time Suck, and then people would hop on the train and go spend the day with the family, checking out where people got supposedly murdered, or whatever. And they would go to watch public executions and watch hangings and stuff, and it was a whole family affair. Let's watch this guy get hanged.
Okay, well, to me, those are two very different things. If you were going to a man or a woman hanged, as a family, it almost feels like you could really get in a lot of trouble for not obeying the law, right?
So, yeah.
So I guess I can...
Extreme, yeah.
Extreme, but relevant to the times, right? Hanging
Is that
people
real?
is extreme.
Yeah.
So,
This can't be real.
That I can at least make some... I can reconcile that in my brain. But a murder scene, I'm just thinking worst, terrible, most awful thing. Our child is murdered. I don't want a fucking hot dog vendor out there get your hot dogs, get your hot dogs, check out the dead body.
It was rare. I want to say it happened with the Valeska, I can't remember how to pronounce that word, Valeska, axe murders in that house.
Celia? Isn't that how you say it?
I don't remember.
Okay, doesn't matter.
But there was those intense crime scenes like that. There was one where oh gosh dang. Oh, what was her name? It was the Hoinky Boinky lady from Time Suck.
I feel like I see the phone box over
Thank you.
there.
You're welcome.
My brain is so foggy with the remnants of COVID still.
That's okay.
But
I'm here for you.
Thank you. But
What
there's
are
a bunch
y'all
of
doing?
people supposedly buried on her property, on her farm, and so I think people went down there, explored it and stuff. I don't know. It was a very weird time for a while.
I know that has nothing to do with the paranormal. It was just a specific detail that
Yeah.
I've never heard that. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. So the other thing I'll say, so we're not here for forever, is you said something about, at some point, someone seeing an orb in photos. So while Dan was sick, we were trapped at home together.
Oh,
he was
fuck.
harassing our animals. And
Oh yeah, and I think I didn't say that here. We didn't say it on this show. But yeah, I had this COVID this past week. I got it in Salt Lake City.
That's right, because we recorded the bonus episode for Patreon.
Right,
So
right.
only
God
those
damn.
people know that you were sick. Yeah, sorry about that. That must have been so confusing. But anyways, in that video that I took with you
fuck.
harassing Penny and Gigi,
Yeah.
people are talking about how they saw several orbs, and I refused to go back and watch the video. So somebody else can watch it, and you can play by play. Okay.
All right. Are you waiting in place for the paranormal Did paranormal seem to have been present?
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, dickhead.
Kind of twist on a story.
Before we head on over to the strange, perhaps miraculous tale of Audrey Santo, first time for a sponsor break.
One of my most favorite summertime activities is going to all of our local farmers markets. I love buying fresh flowers, trees. I also love grabbing fresh ingredients and adding them to some of our health recipes.
That's such a cool thing, actually. We eat so much HelloFresh, fresh ingredients that are farm to table every week. Sometimes, when we're at the farmer's market, it's hard to resist those fresh green beans and strawberries.
100%. And just because you order HelloFresh's pre-planned, pre-portioned meals with these beautiful, incredibly easy to follow directions, it doesn't mean you can't make your own twist on it. For instance, I love but I also know that one of my favorite items to pick up at the farmer's market is freshly made mozzarella, seasonings, and herbs. So I simply
Oh, if he psyched me out, I'd be so mad. No! Did he bite on it? Oh my god, you idiot!
Dish that is fresh and delicious and perfectly suited to my taste buds.
Get creative with your HelloFresh recipes and make them uniquely your own. It's like trying a new recipe without the risk of wasting your life. Go to HelloFresh.com
Gave up on me.
/scared16 and use code SCARED16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free
I got
That's
God.
HelloFresh.com /scared16 and code SCARED16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Does your dog do zoomies over their current dog food? Do they spin around and around and around like little fluffy whirling dervishes?
Well, if the answer is no, you should check out Sundays for Dogs. Sundays for Dogs is a dog food delivery service that focuses on creating fresh food for your pup using recipes formulated by veterinarian nutritionists.
It's uniquely air-dried, minimally
I
processed,
need a
real
weapon.
meat with no artificial additives, colors, or flavors. And it's made with human-grade ingredients, which means you can technically eat it if you really wanted to.
I guess, if you want to.
That thing
But
must
in
have
a
been
blind taste
so
test,
good.
leading dog food brands, Dogs Preferred Sundays 42-0. They crushed the competition. And Sundays isn't just tasty, it's healthy. This is not the equivalent of giving your dogs nothing but bacon and cake.
Nice.
And Sundays is great for digestion, immunity, and energy. It helps picky eaters enjoy mealtime. And most importantly, Sundays helps dogs live healthier, happier, longer lives.
Penny and Gigi love it. They wake us up at 6 a.m. every morning and
I do
then
this
race to their
again.
breakfast bowls. And then they come back to us and thank us in a lot of licks when they're done. We've never seen them so happy for food.
Right now, you can take 50% off your first order. Just visit sundaysfordogs.com.
I don't know how to do this.
50.
Oh, no.
Again, that's sundaysfordogs.com/woof50.
And now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Sometimes I feel like America's favorite talk show host. You get BetterHelp, and you get BetterHelp, and you get BetterHelp. I want to give the gift of mental health to everyone I love because I personally know the value of taking care of my mind.
It's kind of like when you get hooked on a new TV show or a crazy workout routine, and you find yourself talking about it to anyone who will listen. Mental health is like exercise for your brain. And yeah, you could get that exercise in a variety
Do
of
it,
ways,
homeboy.
like learn a new language. But you can also exercise your brain by using BetterHelp.
Because I have been working out my brain using BetterHelp therapy for quite some time now, I was prepared with the tools in my mental health toolbox to navigate a really tricky situation with my mom recently. She retired last year and she has way too much time on her hands. It has caused her to spiral out and not show up as the amazing, loving person that we all know she is. My therapist, Danielle, helped me figure
What
out
is
how
going
to
on
approach my
here,
mom about
man?
this very sensitive topic, and I was able to express my feelings scared to death.
Thanks for sticking around, Pigs and Peepers. We are back with more exploration of the paranormal. Not much setup on this one either. Again, this is not so much horror, just more of an interesting story of what might be possible.
Okay.
A little quick story here. And many of the stories we tell here on Scared to Death, while they're, terrifying, they're not entirely without reason. We at least think we can understand them. We can speculate. We're at least able to conceptualize, for example, some dark entity being the result of a brutal event here on Earth, like a murder, just talking about that. Or we rationalize ghosts as the souls or spirits of those who have died lingering on in the form of some kind of supernatural entity. But sometimes seemingly paranormal events just don't appear appear as understandable. Sometimes we see signs of something not of this world, and we don't have any idea what they mean, or even if they're good or bad. We don't know if we should be in awe of something larger, more powerful than us, or terrified of it. Time now for the mysterious tale of Audrey Santo. Born in Massachusetts on December 19th, 1983, Audrey was the youngest of 4 children born to Linda and Steve Santo. And on August 9th, 1987, 3-year-old Audrey was happily playing outside in the driveway with her 4-year-old brother Steve. Steve came inside, upset and alone. Audrey's mother Linda and her 12-year-old son Matthew ran out to look for Audrey, and they found her face down in the backyard swimming pool. Matthew quickly dove in, pulled Audrey from the pool, and unconscious, she was rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, the family were told that Audrey was now suffering from something they didn't even know was possible. Young Audrey was both paralyzed and mute. According to her family, she was now afflicted with the most severe form of a brutal condition known as akinetic mutism. Her mind was fully alert. She was awake and had normal mental functioning.
Oh my gosh.
But torturously trapped inside her own body with no way to communicate to the outside world.
Holy crap.
The family sought second and third opinions. Some coma specialists they consulted told them that Audrey was not conscious inside and had very little brain activity. They hoped those specialists were correct. They hoped that if she was to be trapped inside her own body, at least she would know she was trapped.
How's everyone already dead?
For about 3 weeks in the hospital care. Doctors recommended she be placed in an assisted living facility, but the family insisted on bringing her home. And that November they did. At home, she continued to be in a coma.
Oh, fuck.
Was she? Doctors still disagreed on how aware of her surroundings she was. Some thought she was alive and aware inside. Others thought she was brain dead. EEGs
Why won't you fucking die?
very inconsistent and hard to ascertain amount of brain activity. She breathed with the assistance of a ventilator. She ate via a feeding tube. Mostly, she would also curiously be able to receive communion wafers via her mouth.
Oh, fuck.
Strange. Soon things got stranger. About a year after the accident, Linda took Audrey to Medjugorje, a popular
Don't you
pilgrimage
like
site
that,
in
asshole?
Bosnia and Herzegovina. The spirit of the Virgin Mary is said to appear periodically to local Catholic children since 1981.
Oh,
So many
fuck.
supposed sightings there that in 1999, the Vatican began approving official pilgrimages to this possibly miraculous site. It was a difficult and expensive journey with an incapacitated 4-year-old child, but Linda believed it would be worth it, and that the result would be Audrey being healed. She was so hopeful, she even brought along a pair of sandals for Audrey to use when she was restored to health. Once there, Linda claimed a miracle. She claimed that Audrey was present when she saw an apparition of the Virgin Mary. To also detect the presence of this entity, nodding her head and saying yes when asked if she saw it. Linda then went on to claim that Audrey communicated directly with the Virgin Mary and that she agreed to become a victim soul. A victim soul is someone believed to willingly take on the suffering of others. The Roman Catholic Church recognizes only one victim soul, that of Jesus himself. After this alleged encounter, Audrey went into cardiac arrest and almost died, requiring a medical evacuation back to the U.S. Once back home, things got a lot stranger still. Starting with one painting, spreading to include many paintings and icons within the Santo home, particularly in their garage, oil was said to exude from objects near Audrey, enough to spontaneously fill containers placed beneath them. However, no one ever claimed to witness the moment of onset of these discharges, only the already oil-filled containers.
Try one more time,
Was someone,
man,
perhaps
dog.
Audrey's mother, Linda, doing this to make others think her daughter was miraculous? Perhaps. But statues also reportedly moved on their own when no one was looking, pivoting to face sanctified objects. Sometimes this would happen when no one entered or left the room during the change, so how could Linda have done that? Then there was also the stigmata. Audrey spontaneously bleeding from her palms, from the same spot as Jesus' hands when he was nailed to the cross. This was reportedly witnessed not just by Linda, but by at least one of Audrey's nurses. Also, during several masses in which Audrey was present, what seemed to be human blood appeared on some consecrated communion wafers. A substance that appeared to be blood also appeared in a chalice at the Santo home. And a statue of Mary at the Santo home appeared to sometimes cry blood. Maybe most incredibly, despite all predictions to the contrary, Audrey, still not able to move or communicate with the outside world, continued not just to live, but to grow.
Oh, shit.
Visitors to the house at 64S Flag Street in Worcester, Massachusetts, would see a girl with dark, shiny, and fragrant hair gathered at the crown by a red satin bow, cascading onto a pillow and 3 feet beyond. Her complexion was alabaster, like a statue's. Soon, she was in her early 20s. In this condition, she grew from being a toddler all the way into adulthood. which many considered miraculous in and of itself. Her open gray eyes would often be spotted moving back and forth, slowly, as if she was, according to her mother, reading scripture. Many of her visitors, often visiting to pray through Audrey, hoped she could help them with their own pains and worries. They'd claimed that visiting Audrey, praying for her intercession, or having others pray or visit her on their behalf, resulted in miraculous healing. Audrey once had a rash, similar to a rash usually experienced by those undergoing chemotherapy or cancer, though Audrey never underwent such therapy, had that appear on her body. Those around her believed that was evidence that, as a victim soul, she had taken on suffering of some visitor with cancer.
Get one more.
Numerous people had claimed that Audrey somehow saved their life, or the life of someone they prayed for. Several area priests even frequently visited, celebrating masses and gathering groups of their congregations to pray beside her. That went on for over a decade. And it wasn't just the religious who believed in Audrey's supernatural abilities. Boguslaw Lipinski, a Boston biochemist, would testify to the mysterious nature of the oils found in the home that is supposedly secreted from paintings and other objects near Audrey. He says he ordered chemical analysis and discovered it to be without the